How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to run through how I feel France's bench won them the Six Nations and how the 7-1 split really caught everybody off guard. So before I continue, please like and subscribe as it really does help my channel grow. And I just want to be providing you guys with the best content possible. So let's break down this 7-1 split to begin with, right? Because normally you see the 7-1 split used by the Springboks. They started using it and they started to use it effectively. There's been a lot of back and forth in relation to it. And obviously, Galtier, he has taken a shine to it. There aren't many teams in the world that can play the 7-1 split. And that's purely because of depth concerns. But France showed that they can manage it quite well. And they do have serious quality in the back to really come on as impact players and start making a difference. Now, I don't believe many teams actually genuinely believe that France would be coming out with an option like this. And it managed to work so well for them because of that depth in forwards that they do have. So we look at France in the beginning. They managed to beat Wales. They slaughtered them. They ended up losing to England. And this is where we really started to see Galtier use the 7-1 split. And we started to see him using it very effectively. Right, we saw Miafau get, I think it was a throat infection that he was out, and Guillard came in. And from that moment, we saw Guillard take up the mantle as the starting lock and have Miafau coming in off the bench. And the impact that Miafau had coming in off the bench when he was fit and ready was phenomenal. We saw players like Julien Marchand, Cyril Baillet come on the 40, 50, 60th minute and really start putting in a lot of pressure. France, they were able to use a lot of their high work rate, very active, very mobile forwards to really start wearing down a lot of teams in that first half, which is why we started to see a lot of the games being relatively close in the first half. It's using that forward pressure, using that physicality to really start to wear down teams, because not many teams are able to hold a 7-1 split, where when you have the likes of Julien Marchand being able to come on, Cyril Baillet, whether you have Guillard, whether you have, whichever players you want to be putting on, not many teams are able to withstand that kind of pressure, which is why South Africa are able to do it so well, because they have such high level forwards that they are able to replace like for like quality. And this is something that France did very well. A lot of people didn't see Guillard coming in as a replacement for Miafau, but Guillard performed so well. He ended up keeping him out and having Galtier rethink his plan and start playing Miafau as an impact player. And I feel this really worked to France's favor, especially in the second half of the Six Nations, which is where we really started to see a big change. The biggest change, however, was in that Ireland game, where everybody thought that Ireland were going to take the game and they're going to run away with it, right? But France were able to withstand them, right? Ireland played a lot of good rugby. Yes, there was a lot of problems, especially in terms of the Dupont injury. But we saw players like Luku come on. He managed to dictate tempo. And then we saw in the second half of the game where we started to see forwards, just start rolling on gradually. We started to see France take the game away. Bit by bit, they started to win more scrums. They started to be more dominant in the lineouts. They started to, be better in the rucks. They started to be more dominant in the mauls. And what did we start seeing? We started to see France take things away, start wearing down the Irish, and then space started opening up. And the one thing that France are able to use is that space, especially when you have the likes of your Tomo Ramos, your Biel Biarre, and these players are so good at picking out space that it really becomes impossible to deal with them if you do not have a like for like replacement in terms of your forward packs and in terms of your backs to really, be able to keep up with that pressure. And we saw a lot of France wearing down players, having a very high work rate, pushing a lot at the breakdown and start slowly and slowly wearing down the players as they come on, so that come the second half, when the forwards come on, when the bomb squad, as you would call it, would come on, fresh players. There's nothing scarier than having a fresh Julien Marchand, a fresh Miafao, a fresh Sirobaye come on and just work you for another 30, 40, 50 minutes, however long it is. So we look at that pressure, right? And this happened consistently whilst they were using that 7-1 split. The game was constantly level. We saw it up against France. We saw it up against Italy. We saw it up against Ireland. We saw it up against pretty much any team. It was generally close in the first half. And then come the second half, we started to see that pressure work. We started to see the players fade. And this is where France excelled, because they had the players to be able to bring them on, to really put on that heavy, heavy pressure throughout the game. And what happens when you are tired? You are not getting up quickly. You are not getting into your positions effectively. You are not running the same lines. You are not protecting as you are supposed to be. And this is where France really started making use of it, because France's players were fit. France's backs are able to run for days. They have engines like there's no tomorrow. When you have players like Barassi, Mofana, they do not stop running. You have players like Atisogbe, Penaud, and Luis Bielbiaé. They have engines for days, and they are so rapid. They are able to close down space in an instant. So whether you're in front of them, whether they are hitting that grubber ball, whether you have a player like Atisogbe, who is just an absolute menace and he's on you whenever he needs to be, you don't have time to breathe. And that is something that France managed to execute better than any other team. They kept the pressure on throughout the entire 80 minutes and utilized their game management better than anybody else. We saw a lot from Ireland, where they often tended to fade a little bit in the back end of the game, but because of that sheer quality that they have in the likes of Jamison Gibson-Park, James Lowe, Hugo Keenan, they were able to get through the games. But we started to see Ireland fade, especially in the second half of the Six Nations, as we saw up against Italy, which became a very, very tight and close game, even with Dan Sheehan bagging himself a hat-trick of tries. We did not see this from France, which is why they amassed such a point difference that it's hard to keep track of. So unless Scotland were able to beat France by like 60 odd points, they wouldn't even had a single shot at getting the title, right? The closest team that came was England, but they still ended up losing. They still ended up coming second by 1 point. We got to take into consideration Ireland won the last Six Nations with 20 points. 20 points was enough for Ireland to win the Six Nations. France bagged themselves 21 points and a ridiculous points difference. So now you think, what kind of level is this France team playing with? Is it the other teams were playing poorly, or was it this French team playing spectacularly and above expectations? I do believe that France could have hit another gear. I do believe that France made some crucial mistakes up against England. But you look at the rest of the games that they played it exceptionally. I don't think they hit full gear, which is scary considering how good they were playing. But I do think that there is still a lot more to come from this French side. So France are effectively using a 7-1 split, and they have young players to boot. You have players like Thibaut Flament, who it's like he was built for it. We have the likes of Guillard. We have the likes of Romain. We have the likes of Miafao, who are brilliant in those aspects. And then you have your players like Pascal Gros, who was just amazing, right? You have Malvaka. You have Winnie Antonio, Winnie Antonio is in the back end of his career, but France will have a lot of talent, a lot of quality popping up and coming through the ranks, especially in the top 14. So by next Six Nations, we are going to see a completely revitalized French squad that is going to come through with much better youth and are going to be much more well drilled. So let me know what you guys think in relation to the 7-1 split that France have been doing. And do you think this is the reason why they won the Six Nations? Because since they started using it, we saw a big difference. Let me know in the comment sections below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.